Welcome, everyone. Nice to be with you and have you join us. Thank you for your interest and support of what we're doing at KO Films. My name is Rhonda. I'm the CEO and co-founder of KO Films and a producer of the Covenant TV series. We're thrilled to see that we had over 800 people from across the country and even some other countries that registered to attend this event. And I think we're here today, really. My belief is that we're here today, no matter where we are or where we're located or who we are, that we're each connected in a very unique way because of the stories of the Bible that have connected us in some way or another. And I believe that each one of us here today really wants to keep them from being lost and forgotten. And that's what we're here to talk to you about today. Joining me today are Andrew Klavan, our screenplay writer, and Cyrus Nowrasteh, our showrunner and director. Thrilled to have both of them. Gina Wheelock, who is also a co-founder and executive of KO, was going to join us, but had a last-minute family medical situation arise and isn't able to be here. So our thoughts are with her. So throughout this presentation, if you have questions you would like to ask, please feel free to put them in the chat and we'll answer them in the Q&A at the end of this broadcast. So before we go any further, I'd like to hear from each of you about what's brought you here, why you found an interest to register. And so we're going to put up a real quick poll you can tell us if you're an investor, a fan of Andrew, a fan of Cyrus. I doubt any of you are going to be fans of me, but if you can find it, you can go ahead and put it in there. Or just a follower of the project, or if you're an investor, whatever the case, if you just take a minute and just click on that real quickly. So I'm looking at it here, 40+% are excited about the Covenant series, 2%, 24% are a fan of Andrew or Cyrus, 33% are existing investors. So anyhow, great, thank you for that input. So let's talk about the project called The Covenant. To start us off, I want to show you a short video that I believe demonstrates the need for the Covenant series in the world we live in today.
The Old Testament is something I've never heard of.
The first story of the Bible, I really have no idea.
I think the first story in the Bible is about a big flood or something like that with animals.
I believe God wrote the Bible, I think. Am I answering that correctly?
Okay, I don't know, some monks or some older people, I don't know.
The name Abraham, I think of Abraham Lincoln.
Do I know who Daniel is? I know Elton John sang about him at once.
Who is Esther? I'm drawing a blank on that. I mean, I've heard that name before, but I don't know.
Esther is also another person from the Bible.
What keeps me from reading the Bible? I don't have a Bible.
When was the last time I read my Bible? I honestly can't remember.
The last time I read my Bible has probably been over 10 years or so or less.
It's not really anything specific, it's just something I don't really have an interest in.
The New Testament may be relevant to my life, but I don't think the Old Testament is as relevant to my life as the New Testament is.
You know, I like the stories in the Bible when I read it when I was younger, but I don't find it as relevant in my life right now.
At a shopping mall extemporaneously, that we're losing these beautiful stories from the Old Testament that are so rich. They're based upon, we have 4,000 years of history and they're foundational to our culture in so many ways, and we just want to bring them back again if they've never been done before. So this seems like a perfect segue to introduce Andrew Klavan, who wrote the screenplay for our pilot. And for those who know Andrew, there is no E in Klavan. I asked Andrew to sing it, but he decided he wouldn't. He's politely declined. But Andrew's a two-time Edgar Award winner for crime and suspense novels, an acclaimed host of the Andrew Klavan Show on the Daily Wire. I want to share with you real briefly a note that I received from someone I met just a few weeks ago, and I had sent him a copy of Andrew's screenplay on the story of Daniel. It's just an excerpt. It goes more than that, but this is a good way to introduce Andrew. He said, as a writer and producer and film director of I'm sent scripts every week. When you sent me the screenplay by The Rivers of Babylon by Andrew Klavan, I read it wondering if it would be like the many Bible-themed scripts I have critiqued over the years. I was simply shocked by how terrific it is. It is such a fresh take that it caught me off guard. Not only was it extremely well written, with plenty of historical and religious research embedded, but the main characters of Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar are portrayed in the script in such an intriguing, well thought out manner that I was captivated by them. Andrew has made them and this Bible story we think we all know come to life in a vibrant storytelling fashion. I can't wait to see the script come to life on the screen. Big thumbs up for me as I look forward to the excellent series that I know KO Films will make these kind of scripts. Andrew, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, thank you. That's very flattering to hear. I'm happy to hear it. It's interesting. You're telling truly the greatest stories ever written. I mean, the Bible, from Genesis through most of Exodus, and again in the David stories, are just some of the greatest stories ever told. And you might think that Hollywood would be eager to make them some of their classic old-fashioned films were Bible stories, like the Ten Commandments and the greatest story ever told, and on and on. But if you go back and look, before Mel Gibson made The Passion of the Christ, which I think was about 2004, they were not making Bible stories. And one of the things I hear a lot from people who haven't worked in Hollywood, and I worked in Hollywood for years and was quite successful as a screenwriter, one of the things that people who think they know Hollywood but don't will tell you, they'll say it's all about the money. All Hollywood cares about is money. But that's just not true, because first of all, artists work for all kinds of reasons. They work for love, they work for prestige, they work so that women will admire them and they'll get awards and they'll be interviewed. But also they live in a community that's very sequestered, it's very cut off from the rest of the country. And so when Mel Gibson made this picture, they attacked him. I used to joke that what happened to Jesus in The Passion of the Christ was nothing compared to what the media did to Mel Gibson. They ripped him to pieces. And yet, this $25 million movie paid for out of Gibson's pocket has now made well over $500 million. I mean, it's like $600 million it has made. It is a huge, huge gross, and the #1 R-rated picture in America in terms of gross. So Hollywood now mobilized, seeing that this could be done for a small amount of money. You could make so much money. Hollywood actually did mobilize and start all these faith-based divisions in their companies meant to serve this audience that they now suddenly discovered was there. They hadn't known that anybody cared about the Bible, read the Bible. And yet, when they went out to make big movies like Exodus, Gods and Kings with Christian Bale, or Noah with Russell Crowe, they made them in such a way that they were guaranteed to offend anybody who believed that the Bible was true, was the word of God. Noah was about God destroying the world because we weren't environmental enough, because of climate change, which has nothing to do with the story. And Christian Bale, in an interview before Exodus, Gods and Kings came out, called Moses a terrorist. So the people of faith, people who are likely to turn up and give money to see these movies, didn't turn up to watch them. And that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. A few years back, I and Jeremy Boring, who some of you may know as the God King, we call him the God King of the Daily Wire, where I have my podcast, we collaborated on a script of a Bible story, and I sent it to my agent, and my agent is a far left-wing, non-believing guy who doesn't flatter me at all. And he read the script, and he said to me, literally, "This is the best Bible script I've read in decades." And he's been around for decades. He says, "This is the best Bible script but Bible stories don't make money, so I can't sell it." And I laughed and I said, "They don't make money because you keep offending the faith-based audience." And he said, "Doesn't matter. It's the bottom line that counts. They're not making these movies anymore. Well, I'd seen this happen before. I mean, I saw it happen with the War on Terror, where they made film after film after film denigrating our troops, portraying our troops as fools, portraying our troops as rapists, as bigots, as people who hated Muslims, and they didn't make any money. And so in Variety, the trade paper of Hollywood, they wrote an article saying, well, the audience just doesn't care about the War on Terror. They don't want to see movies about the War on Terror, just like they thought they didn't want to see movies about the Bible. And then Clint Eastwood made American Sniper, which is now, I think, the 12th highest grossing R-rated film. And Hollywood, so help me, this is true, they then wrote articles saying, we don't know, we're mystified. We're mystified why American Sniper made money when all these other wonderful War on Terror movies failed. And of course, the difference was in American Sniper, the Americans are the good guys and the Islamists are the bad guys, just like in real life. So the point is this: they're completely cut off from their audience. They don't know their audience. They don't like their audience. They don't care what their audience wants. And they are very, very tied up in their ideologies. And those ideologies get them prestige, they get them love, they get them awards, and they get them new jobs writing superhero movies where they make the money they wanted to make. And so this means that Bible stories, the greatest stories that can be told, are not being told and won't be told. And they won't be told by the high-level talent that works in Hollywood. If they are told, they too often are being told by amateurs or people who care about the faith but don't really know how to construct a screenplay, don't know how to professionally tell a story. To me, this just means there's a lot of low-lying fruit, a lot of people who want to hear stories, the kinds of stories that I love and the kind of stories that I know how to tell. And it's a wonderful opportunity to create Bible stories that are not namby-pamby, G-rated, smiley-faced things made by churches, but are made by people who care about telling stories with real characters in real situations, dealing with the things that are most essential in life, namely faith and love and war and the things that happen in life and how you deal with those from a position of faith. So for me, this was an easy call. When you guys called me up and said you want to do Old Testament stories like they matter, I was on board from the start. I mean, I don't remember even thinking about it. I just thought, yeah, this is something I want to be a part of. I'm really happy that everybody's happy with the script. I'm delighted that the script enticed Cyrus to come on. He's a terrific director, and it really elevates it as far, now you're not just dealing with a talented lowlife like me. You've actually got a talented, classy guy like Cyrus joining the team. And to me, it's a no-brainer. We now know that we can make great Bible stories that people will like, that are also highly intelligent and real and hopefully works of art.
Great. Andrew, thank you. Perfect answer, perfect discussion. A good segue as well. I'm sure everyone on the call can tell how lucky we are to have Andrew as part of our creative team. We truly, truly do feel fortunate. So going along with what Andrew said, we know that there are billions of people who want to see these stories told right in a way that's creative, that somebody has referred to it as that they're not flannel board presentations, that they do deal with the grit and the glory and all of the conflict and all that's going on. So take a minute and put in the chat some of the stories that some of your favorite stories or your favorite story that you would like to see brought to life as part of this series. I'm gonna look here and see what's coming in. I see Moses, I see Daniel. We've got Daniel covered pretty good. Looks like Joseph, that's one of my truly favorites that I've had. Elijah, someone said to me recently that Elijah was their favorite story, Prophet Elijah. Esther, Ruth, Moses. So it looks like, Andrew, you got 20 years of work ahead of you.
I hope I've got 20 years of work.
Well, we're just gonna have to get it written, right? We're just gonna have to get it written. So anyhow, you can see, well, Andrew provided a nice introduction, and the screenplay really is foundational to every film project. You've got to have a good screenplay. You can't take a bad screenplay, Cyrus, you can comment on that and make it into something great. But we've got a great screenplay, and let me introduce to Cyrus Nowrasteh, who's our showrunner and director. His movie and film credits are truly, truly impressive. Let me tell you how I first became aware of Cyrus. When I was watching Andrew's show, when he did it every day. Now he only does it once a week, but he was doing it every day. And on this particular show, he was interviewing Cyrus. I believe it was about infidel. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
I think it was about infidel. And I listened to Cyrus and what he was saying, the conversation between Andrew and Cyrus. And I said to myself, that's our director. And I called Mike Irwin and I said, Mike, you need to watch Andrew's show today. Watch the recorded version of it and tell me what you think about Cyrus. And he agreed with me. We asked Andrew to introduce us, and the rest is history. I spent a week with Cyrus on our scout trip in Morocco in June. Had just a wonderful time, and I really was able to see Cyrus's talent firsthand and how he works and the creativity that he'll bring to this series. So Cyrus, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Andrew. One of the first decisions we made collectively in terms of shooting this series was to shoot in Morocco. And the decision to shoot in Morocco is really based upon the demands of the series. In the covenant, it's our intent to recreate with as high a production value as possible the immense vistas, the palatial sites, and magnificent stories of the Old Testament. The biblical time recreated in the pilot for the covenant is around 600 BC into the 500s during the reign of Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar was the greatest ruler of Babylon, and this is the pilot I'm talking about, focused on the story of Daniel, the book of Daniel. And Nebuchadnezzar was famous for his military campaigns and large-scale construction projects, and his goal was to turn Babylon into the greatest city on earth. Now, this throne room, that image that we're showing, of course, will be in Nebuchadnezzar's palace, and has to convey his awesome power and dominion. The bas reliefs on the wall will depict his many military victories and hunting expeditions. This is a man to be revered and feared. And, having gained great glory and the favor of the gods of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar has come into direct conflict with the Jews. Because he destroyed Jerusalem and demands that they worship his gods. So when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refuse to worship at his golden statue, they're thrown into the fire furnace only to survive. And of course, when Daniel interprets his dreams, he and his friends are given great favor by Nebuchadnezzar. As you'll notice, to me, the set conveys so much about, first of all, the world, the power, the sense of, what kind of courage it takes to sort of, defy this power. And these sets have to show that interior and exterior. And I felt all along that Morocco sort of gives us that value. And, in this wall with the fresco, this is where, after Nebuchadnezzar dies, Belshazzar summons Daniel to interpret mysterious writing that's appeared on a wall during a blasphemous feast. And the ghostly writing portends Belshazzar's doom. And this is where we're going to do this and portray this at a banquet. And of course, Belshazzar's doom also portends the arrival of the Persians, whose ruler Darius demands that Daniel quit praying to his God and pray to him, the Persian king. Daniel refuses, saying, the one true God is sovereign over the kings, the nations, and empires of the world. And this, of course, offends the powerful Darius, who sends Daniel to the den of lions. Now, on this balcony, Nebuchadnezzar will stand there and look out, and we will recreate Babylon of the era that he can see from his balcony. So as you can see, we indeed intend to do this with the highest production value possible, and really immerse the audience in that world. This temple here, we're going to, and a lot of these standing sets here, we will reface and basically adjust them to the time that we're depicting. And the idea here is to show a temple for the Babylonian gods. Once again, immense, powerful, and, you know, when Daniel stands up to Darius, and well, these are the dungeons where Daniel will be held before he's to be taken out to the den of lions. And you know, these are really wonderful sets that we're going to be working from. And when Daniel goes out to the den of lions, we intend to indeed use an actual cave and location. It will augment a bit. We will use real lions as much as, you know, possible within the safety of our actors, of our actor Daniel. But one thing John Walton, our religious advisor, had said to me, because he was on the scout with us, was that you can't show these lions as suddenly becoming pussycats and just sort of, you know, meowing at Daniel. Actually, they're vicious, and they're frightening, and they're growling, and they're dangerous. And I really want to recreate that. I want to put the audience in that cave as Daniel. And, you know, we all know what happened in the cave. God protects his faithful servant from the lions, and Darius acknowledges the greatness of Daniel's God. So Daniel's faithful to God, the Lord, and the Lord has rescued him from the lions. God is with those who trust in him. That's the pilot. The pilot we're doing is going to encompass the story of Daniel, and it's a wonderful script by Andrew. There's so many great parts in it. I think actors are going to be begging and pleading to play in this. The role of Nebuchadnezzar is so rich, and as is the part of Daniel and numerous other parts in the pilot. So I'm tremendously excited about shooting this, and I invite you all to come on the journey with us. Let's go to Morocco.
Great. Cyrus, thank you. Again, very, very fortunate to have Cyrus as part of this. I can hardly wait to join you in Morocco for the filming of the pilot. It'll be a fun time. So one of the questions that we get, and I've seen come up over conversations that I've had, is, are we going to be true to the Bible? And we are going to be true to the Bible and how we depict these stories. These are not our stories. They're God's stories, and we want to make sure that we're true to those. We're going to draw from biblical text as well as ancient and historical text to add insight and dimension and character development and all the things that will make the series entertaining. We're going to do. I think maybe this would be a good spot to introduce John Walton. Because of his teaching schedule at Wheaton College, he isn't able to join us, but he will in future webinars. But John's is an Old Testament scholar, one of the most foremost scholars in the world on the Old Testament. I want to tell you a little story about this. When we went to Andrew, and we basically said, Andrew, pick a story from the Old Testament that you want to tell for the pilot. And we gave him carte blanche. He came back to us and said, I really want to do Cain and Abel. That's the crime writer coming out in him. And he said, but I don't think that's the one. And then he said, I think I want to do the book of Daniel. And we had a long conversation about why he had chosen that. And we gave the thumbs up and let's go ahead and do it. Well, then we were introduced to John Walton. And as we're talking to John Walton, we're telling about the project, and we would like to have him join us as a advisor. He said, he said, well, what's your pilot going to be on? And we said it's going to be on the book of Daniel. Now, I don't know if you believe in miracles or coincidences or whatever you are, but John Walton said, oh, I just have spent the last 2 years and have written 1,000-page text on the book of Daniel. He probably knows as much, if not more, than anyone in the world on the book of Daniel. And Cyrus, I think you saw that. I think you would agree that when you were over there, how much he brought to that. So let's have that video of John Walton, if we can introduce him that way.
No, it was a great idea to have John join us.
Yeah, well,
I wasn't so sure at first, but also he gained a knowledge of what it is we have to do on our
yeah,
end, production-wise.
he did. I watched that dynamic. Okay, is the video ready?
In my years, I've seen lots of productions, movies, TV series on the Old Testament. As an Old Testament specialist, I'm afraid I often cringe because there's so much that reflects either not thinking through the narratives or doing their own thing in places where they really didn't have to. So often they've been disappointing. And that's why I feel like the time is really right to do something that gets over some of those hurdles, where we can be faithful to the biblical text, yet supply those things through artistic creativity that will help bring it alive instead of that will work against it, that will show people of faith in a positive light instead of a pietistic light or an overly spiritualized light or even in a cringe-worthy light. And so I'm hoping that we can work together to produce exactly that kind of product, that people won't walk away disappointed at how it didn't reflect the Bible, but will walk away feeling inspired by how it did reflect the Bible.
Oh, there you are. Cyrus, any comments on John at all?
No, I think, look, John has helped us immensely. You know, his knowledge and of the details of the period, the time, the stories, is just going to enrich this series, I think, dramatically. And you know, he was thrilled by the locations that we were looking at in Morocco. He really realized, I think, very quickly that we can recreate this world in a convincing way. And he's right. It's like what we want to do is reflect the Bible in this series as much as possible and be as true to the Bible as much as possible, but not be a substitute for the Bible. If anything, draw people like the ones in the interview that started this presentation, of people who really had no idea of what's in the Bible and don't bother with it. Well, if they see a show that is dramatically presented with high production value, that they get completely immersed in, they're going to say, boy, these are great stories. Where's my Bible?
Yep, perfect. That reminds me of when I read Andrew's script, and I won't divulge the kind of one of the opening scenes, but it was a story I had never heard before. And I've studied the Old Testament. I had never heard it before. So I looked up this particular character, and sure enough, there she was. But it caused me to go back to the Bible, and that's what we want people to do in this. So, well, we're fortunate to have John as well. He's just an incredible resource, fully enthused and excited about this. So let me talk a little bit about how this project's going to come about. We're funding this project through a crowdfunding model. We chose to do this because we want to give everyone a chance to be a part of creating this series and to make sure that that you feel like as an audience that the Covenant TV series is not just ours, KO Films, but yours, because you'll become part of that. And if you invest in the project, you become an owner of KO Films, and you'll be instrumental in helping us bring this to a reality. It's not a donation, nor is it a gift. You're actually creating a TV series that we will believe will really creating a legacy. Right now, we're looking at our crowdfund site, investingkotop.tv. It's where you can invest in the project. If you press the button, the invest button, it'll lead you through 4 simple steps to complete your investment, and then you'll be part of bringing this to reality. I would just say here that we've had some questions about why do I have to provide my social security number? And the reason you have to is the offering is regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission, and they require us to gather this kind of information. It will be held completely confidential. But in order to invest, you have to do that. We really need everyone's help. There's room for all types of investors in this project, whether they be large or small. Those who could invest hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. And we've already had some, we haven't had anybody in the hundreds of thousands yet, but we've had people in the tens of thousands, and we've had people in the hundreds. But all of these investments are important. So if we know you love these stories, and we hope that you'll invest no matter what the size is. If you have questions about this investment, and it goes beyond what I can say because of the format, because of the webinar format, I'm limited to what I could say. I'm not trying to hedge or to dodge any questions, but I'm limited to what I can say about the particulars of the investment. I would be happy to meet with you. I think Kelly has put a place where you can schedule a meeting with me in the chat room. If not, she'll do it now, and there'll be a link there. There's a number on our website. You're welcome to call me. If I'm not on the phone, I'll be happy to pick it up. And you can always reach me by email, which is ron@kofilms.tv, and we'll provide that email again. Now, we'd like to answer some of your questions that you've put in, or some that you might want to put in right now. So here's a question for Andrew and Cyrus. What is the hardest part of adapting the written word to a film and TV series?
Andrew?
Yeah, no, I think the important thing, you've got 2 big challenges. One is the density of film. You've got to do things very quickly in a very tight space, and your dialogue has to be you have to choose your dialogue very carefully. You have to choose your moments very carefully, because you just can't do everything. And the Bible is so rich with events and so rich with character. You have to make sure that you have the space to do what you want to do. And the other thing is, you're up against this reality, which I think is what Cyrus was conveying before when he was talking about Morocco. You're up against this financial reality that you have to be able to do something that looks great, but that you can afford to do. I mean, I remember working on a film a while back where I was in this room with a bunch of guys. We were talking about the script, and I knew the producer, I knew the director, I knew some of the actors, but there was one little guy in the corner that I'd never met before. And I would come up with these ideas, and I would say, well, why don't we have these 2 trains collide? And he would shake his head, or I'd say, well, what if we have this flood? And he would shake his head. And finally, out of frustration, I said, who is this guy? Why is he shaking his head at my ideas? They said, well, he's the line producer, and he's telling me we just can't afford to do that, And so here you have these epic stories that have to look big, they have to look beautiful, and you have to figure out a way of making sure that can happen. First on the page, and then you have to have a director who knows how to do that, who knows how to make that real. When you were looking at those incredibly beautiful sets, I mean, I just thought they looked fantastic. It's not easy to make that happen. It is not easy to imagine it in such a way that it can be done on the page, and then it's not easy to find a director who can actually actualize that and bring it to life. So you're dealing with very, very real logistical concerns, and you want to still make it all about the characters and all about the events and all about the passion that goes into those stories.
Absolutely.
Cyrus, you want to add anything?
I think that was a very complete answer.
Thank you, Andrew. Very good. So here's another question. When does the time period to invest end? I think this is open till, I don't remember the exact date, but it's December, somewhere around December. And we can extend it, but we're hope that this will be funded by then. So invest as soon as you possibly can. Here's another question. Is this going to be a free model, or is it going to be a pay it forward kind of a model, or pay it or let's say, is it going to be a paid model or a pay it forward model? And I'm sure that's in reference to The Chosen. And we have great respect for The Chosen. I was the director of finance for The Chosen during their $10 million crowdfunding raise. Great respect, applaud what they've done. It's just, 270 million views. It's hard to argue against. Our model is different. We're going to be different in that regard, in that they've done a pay it forward model. We're going to do a pay per view model. And so it'll be different in that way. It'll be a fair price. Okay, on the website, it's stated there is room for all religions. What does this mean? Yeah, so I would just say that there's room for everyone in this project. Even the Covenant team come from various faith backgrounds and traditions. As you know, Andrew, if you may or may not know, Andrew became a Christian at the age of 49. Is that right, Andrew? Yeah. Was raised in a secular Jewish home. And Cyrus is a fairly new convert to Christianity. He was raised in a Muslim home. Is that right, Cyrus?
Yes, I converted in 2013.
Yeah.
So I won't be specific, but I was even older than Andrew.
But I would say this, that we would hope that what we're doing would resonate with people of the Jewish faith, as well as people of the Muslim faith, or whatever faith you have. These stories are foundational to almost every religion in the world, and we hope to be able to do it in a way that they'll be appealing to all. Okay.
Can I add something here too, Ron? I mean, I think one thing that's really, it's important to me anyway, is the idea that if these are great stories and they dramatically draw you in, we want anyone out there to watch them and to be drawn in by them, and maybe even drawn to reading the Bible, whatever their religious persuasion is, because there's some who believe that's how you change the world.
Yep, perfect. Another question, will this show eventually go to syndication on a mainstream streaming service, or will forever be pay-per-view? I'm fairly confident that at some point we'll distribute it more widely, but it will be only after a period of time. I don't know how long a time that will be, but it won't be available. It's at some point, I'm sure it'll be, maybe when we've got season 1 release, and we've had good traction from it, then we go to season 2, and then maybe we put season 1 on a broader streaming platform. But those are all questions yet to be determined. But I would say eventually, yes, that each season will be available on a streaming service or a broader streaming platform. Are the investors investing in the Covenant series or KO Films? Oh, that's a very good question. So you're investing in KO Films, and our first project is the Covenant series, but we have other films that we'll be announcing that will be part of this initial round of the round of financing that we're undergoing. Okay. How will God be represented and depicted? We will, so I would just say this, we will not ever show God directly. The main character in each episode will be the person who lived the experiences, such as Daniel or Esther or Abraham or Ruth, the stories of their experiences that they had with God. But it'd be very difficult. We don't have a God in the flesh, as the New Testament does, but God will be very prevalent in all of these stories. You'll see that in the pilot. Okay, I'm just looking at some others. What does this one say here? So I want to address this question. I'm on a fixed income and don't get paid till tomorrow. Can I invest $100 tomorrow? That's a phrase my mother would have said. Here's what I would say. Yes, you can invest tomorrow. Please don't invest anything that you can't afford to lose. I always tell people that. I sincerely mean it. Making a movie and a television series is not without risk. And so please don't put it on your credit card and pay it off over the next 12 months. This ought to be money that if you want to sacrifice going out to dinner or something to do it, okay, but don't invest money you can't lose. I just would hate you to, if we are not successful, while we think we will be, we can't guarantee it. All right. Okay, here's another one. I believe the book of Kings alone are filled with so much rich story, characters, action, and drama. Do you believe there's merit in focusing on these books in particular for a good chunk of time? Drew, do you have any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. The Book of Kings is amazing. I mean, it's hard to convey to anyone who hasn't read the Bible. It's hard to convey just how great the stories are. I mean, and not only are they great stories, but they are the stories that support almost every story we tell. So they have shaped so much of the Western imagination that you really can't tell a story in some ways without referencing these stories. So they're not just great stories, they're also stories. And the Book of Kings is you're absolutely right, the density of one great story after another. One of the issues we had choosing a story to begin with was we needed something that people would recognize, that would be uplifting and that would really show the way we want to present God, like Ron was saying before. But the difficulty of picking one was just that there are just so many, and it's a series, as they say in showbiz, that could run and run because there's just so much material. We ain't going to be making up any stories, you know. we're not bringing our own stories. These are all stories that are written down, and so that's one of the exciting things about it, and the fact that they are so dense, it means that there's room to convey to invent character in the sense of saying, who is this person? Who would do such a thing? Why would they do such a thing? And create characters in that sense.
Thank you, Andrew. Hope that answers that question. I think you did well on it. Okay, a question for Andrew. Will all the scripts take place in biblical times, or do you anticipate stories bringing the Bible stories to modern day, like the one season, or like season 1 of NBC show Kings? And by the way, what did you think of that show?
What was the show? I'm sorry, I missed the name.
Called Kings on NBC. I'm not familiar with it.
If you mean, if there was one called Kings and Prophets, or Prophets and Kings, something like that, I thought it was very strong. I really liked it. Some of the feeling of that, the kind of realistic, down-to-earth feeling, I thought is something very much worth emulating and going forward. If I've got the right show, I hope I'm referring to the right show. What was the original question? I'm sorry. What was the first part of the question?
Let me go back and find it.
Well, would you bring it to a contemporary setting? Yeah.
Oh, they're going to, these are the stories of the Bible. These are not going to be updated. They're not going to be, we're not going to do modern dress Hamlet and modern dress, Joseph. We want to do the stories as they were, and not in a kind of sanitized version of that. I mean, one of the problems I have with some biblical stuff is that the people in it just don't act like people act. They don't do the things that people do. These are people who had extraordinary encounters with the living God, which is that alone is extraordinary, but that didn't stop them from being human beings. It didn't turn them suddenly into plaster saints. I mean, and so it's that to me is what's so beautiful about it. These are things that really happened, and they happened to real people, and they happened with the real God, and we know that. And so there's ample reason to keep it where it is, and keep the scenery where it is, and keep the people as they are.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Cyrus, question for you. Someone wants to know if you have anyone in mind for major roles, casting question. And maybe you could just talk a little bit about the casting process. I know that we've had several people that have expressed interest in being actors in it, and several want to know how we're gonna cast these people. Are they gonna look like the people at the time? Maybe you could just take a minute and comment on those things.
Well, to answer the last part of that question, yes, we want to cast as authentically as possible so that the audience believes that these are people of that time and of that region. I in reference to the previous question, people oftentimes think, well, gee, it's set in the biblical time or ancient time, and it's going to be kind of whatever, corny, or just they're not going to be able to connect with it as they would if it were set in the modern day. And our goal is to get beyond that and to immerse you in that time. But the conflicts, the dilemmas that these characters face are going to be immediate and very contemporary. You're going to be able to connect with the problems that they face. That is really, I think, the challenge. And I think it's a challenge that we can accomplish, and part of it is casting it right. I believe you cast it with the best actors you can find. I haven't met anybody yet who doesn't think they're an actor, but actually finding really good quality actors is our primary goal. But they also have to be authentic to the stories that we're telling. And just make it as believable and as immediate and as immersive as possible.
So if we had someone that wanted to be an actor in this, Cyrus, what would you want them to do? Do you just want them to stand by at this point? I know you're going to use a casting agency.
No, we will have a professional casting director and casting agency involved with the show, who will handle all inquiries. People who want to send in their resumes, send in their or have their agents contact us. We're wide open. It's amazing what you can find out there. I've cast sometimes in very important lead roles, actors that people tell me, I've never seen that person. I've never seen that guy. Who is he? What's he been? And what's she done? And I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, thank you. Someone's asked how we feel the raise is going so far. We're just grateful for where we're at. We're almost at 400,000. We have a ways to go, but wow, we just feel like we're picking up momentum. We're confident that people on this live stream will help us out with that. And but we're very, very excited. We've had a lot of people express interest in it. So through people like you, I would say the one thing that you could do to help us on that is tell 10 people that might be interested. Word of mouth is, if you could find 10 people just like you are, we'd be at $4 million. So we're not asking you to go out and solicit investment and become an investment advisor, but you could certainly recommend it to your friends and have them make their own decisions. So please do that. Let me just close. I don't want to drag this on any longer. We're about out of time. Mike Irwin is one of the founders of KO Films, and he has been through some very, very significant, and continues to go through some very, very significant health challenges. But this is a man that I've just grown to appreciate, love, and respect in so many ways. And on top of the issues that he's fought over the last few years, about 3-4 weeks ago, he got COVID while he was in the hospital. And the good news there is he survived it. He's home. I'm sure he's watching this live stream. So a big shout out to you, Mike. And If you're a praying person, which I would guess most of you people are, please remember Mike in your prayers. He's such a valuable part of what we've done and what we've created, and so please include him in your prayers. I think with that, if there's nothing else, Andrew, Cyrus, any final comments?
Well, I would just, urge people to really take a look at what it is that we want to do and participate. And I know you've put in there sort of little feelers about, people can come to location, they can participate on site, attend a premiere, et cetera, et cetera. I think those are great incentives, and we'll make sure you get the best tour possible.
There you go. Thanks. Andrew, anything closing you want to say?
Yeah, just to remind you that if this kind of thing doesn't happen, if it doesn't happen this way, it's not going to happen. I mean, Hollywood is out of the game. These are not the stories they want to tell. And to get this level of talent together and this level of commitment together outside of Hollywood is not easy. And we definitely need help.
Perfect. If we didn't get your question, which I know we didn't, we've got hundreds of questions here. You can ask it on the chat on the website. There's a little chat feature, a button that'll come up. Please feel free to reach out there. Again, thanks for joining us. Enjoyed everything I hope you've enjoyed everything you've heard and felt and the power behind this project. Please, there's going to be one final poll. Please let us know in this poll how you feel about the project and your willingness to be a part of it. We're going to put that up now. And there you go. This is a measure of how well we've done, by the way. Looks like we have about 70+% that are definitely interested. Another 28% that want to be kept updated through email. And that's it. Yeah, that's great. So thank you so much. We'll sign off. And Andrew, Cyrus, thanks again for participating in this. Thanks to everyone.
Thank you.
So it's good seeing you.
Good to see you guys.